Salom aziz o'quvchilar, speaking darslari davom etadi va bugungi darsimiz yana bir qiziq mavzu. Describe an important river or lake in your country. Bu Ielts Speaking Assistant'dan 31-mavzu ekan. Ya'ni sizni davlatingizdagi muhim bo'lgan ko'l yoki daryo haqida gapirib bering degan savol va what river it is, what you know about it and why it's important degan savollarga javob berishimiz kerak. Va men mavzu sifatida aynan o'sha Amudaryo va Sirdaryoni tanladim. Mana shu mavzu haqida gapirib beraman. So you can listen to my answers and learn, okay? And I'll try to speak for about 2 minutes on this topic. So the question is asking to talk about just one river, but I decided to talk about two rivers because we have two very important rivers in our country. So these rivers are Amudarya and Sirdarya. And these are very important rivers for our country because they provide water for the agriculture, water for the livelihood, for the consumption of people. So they're very, very important and has been historically very important as well. And many people dependent on this river as a source of livelihood. They made a living out of this river. So there was fishing, and they used this water to the water from the Amudarya and Sirdarya to water their crops. It has been very important. Unfortunately, in recent years, its importance has declined, and because of its misuse. Now, before the time when Uzbekistan became independent, there was a Soviet Union running the country, and they decided that Uzbekistan should concentrate on the production of cotton, and many fields were converted into cotton fields, and which required a lot of water, and this put a strain on the use of water on these two rivers. Historically, these waters, Amudarya and Sirdarya, would end up in the Aral Sea. They would flow into the Aral Sea, but because of its misuse, because it had overused, the Aral Sea has now dried up because these two rivers are no longer able to provide the water for the Aral Sea. So that's why this has resulted in a huge catastrophic environmental disaster, especially for the people living around Aral Sea, because there were many people who depended on the Aral Sea. There was fishing happening, there were crops that were dependent on the water, but now it has dried up, and this has caused a huge problem and resulted in the migration of the people living around this Aral Sea. And this is actually a huge problem for not just for Uzbekistan as well, but also for the bordering countries as well, because it's going to disrupt the environmental harmony in this environmental balance in those regions. Okay, so I could talk a little bit more, but because of the time constraint, I have to finish it now. Hopefully I was able to cover all the points and add some interesting points as well. If you liked my answers, then don't forget to share and maybe like this video. And now we're going to move on to part 3 questions. Hope demak, davom ettiramiz darslarimizni va endi esa navbat part 3 savollariga ham yetib keldi. 31-mavzu water activities, rivers and lakes savollariga javob berib chiqamiz. Birinchi savolimiz: why are rivers important to local people? Yoki how can rivers and lakes benefit local people? Ya'ni qanday qilib yordam berishi mumkin, nima uchun muhim? So rivers are important to local people because they provide the source of livelihood. Many people working in agricultural sector depend on the water to water their crops. Or there might be some countries, cities, which depend on the river as a source of tourism. Because, for example, if you know some cities in Italy, they depend on these rivers because the rivers run through the city and it brings lots of tourists into the city. So they come through this river. So it's very important, and also it's very important for the economy. In many cities, rivers provide a cheap way of transporting goods. So boats, ships, tankers use these rivers to transport goods from one place to another. So it's very important. Next one: what activities can be done in and near the river? Yani qanaqa activitylar qilish mumkin? So there are tons of activities that you can do near or in the river. So for example, you can just sunbathe, lie under the sun, read a book maybe, or stroll, or if you have kids, they can build some sand castles. Types of water activities that you can do in the water. You can do surfing, if you have the right conditions, of course. You can do kayaking, you can swim. So lots of things that you can do near or in the river. How does ocean pollution affect the environment? Yani okean ifloslanishi qanday qilib environmentga ta'sir qiladi? So ocean pollution, ocean acidification has a huge impact on the environment, especially the uh, for the fish living in the ocean, and also it also affects people's health as well. So imagine the case when the ocean is polluted because of the plastic that we throw away or because of the oil spillage. So it's going to have a huge negative impact on the marine life, the fish that live in the fish population that live in the ocean. So they might find it really difficult to reproduce, or they might be unable to survive because of the ocean is getting warmer and warmer every single year, and also affects humans as well, because for example, the microplastic things that they eat, the fish eat, is going to enter the food chain and going to end up in our food, and it has been actually found out that we are consuming lots of these microplastic things through the fish that we eat. What occupations are associated with water? So many kinds of professions. It might be sailors, it might be people working in the transportation of goods. And also there might be some professional athletes which train in water sports, like maybe kayaking, swimming, with many kinds of different kinds of occupations. What water sports are popular in your country? Why do people like water sports? Now, my country is not really rich in water resources. We do have rivers, we do have lakes, but then they're very few, and we don't always have an option to be involved in those sports. And probably the most common type of sport is swimming, which can be done in indoor pool as well. But apart from that, we don't really have facilities to do like long range kayaking, for example, or other kinds of water related sports. But because of the conditions that we have, we're not always able to be involved in these sports. Okay, and why do people like water sports? Now, water has always been something that we feel close to because it's part of our body. It's actually one of the main parts of the body, and actually 70% of the human body is comprised of water. So whenever we swim, whenever we see someone swimming, whenever we see water, we feel calm, we feel close to our origin, because water is something that constitutes the most important part of our body. Hop, keyingi savolimiz, do you think that having a river has an impact on tourism in the city? Definitely. As I have mentioned in part 2, there are some cities which depend on river as a way of attracting tourists. I think Venice is a great example. In Italy, there are special canals and rivers flowing through the city, and tourism people actually visit this city for mainly like kayaking on the boat and seeing the city. And I think we watched with a video with our students, and actually Venice is visited by about 20 million people every year, which is a huge number, which makes a huge contribution to the economy. And actually the people living in Venice depend on tourism as a source of livelihood. Why do so many people like going to places with water? Why do some enjoy going to seaside so much? Bunun cevabını verdim. Is traveling by water as important now as it was in the past? Now, I think that the importance of traveling by water has declined because of the introduction of new methods of mobility. Like we are now using more planes and trains because they're faster, more convenient. But in the past, of course, traveling by water was very important. Now, currently, water transportation is important for transportation of goods, not people. People now prefer to fly or to take a train or drive a car, their own car. But now it's mainly used for transportation because it's very cheap and it's very convenient to transport huge amount of goods from one place to another. We have container ships which take a lot of luggage, and so they can transport things from one place to another. What are the pluses and minuses of transporting goods on water? Okay. Now, the pluses, main advantage is that it's very cheap. It's going to cost you far less than transporting things by air or by road transport. So it's going to be really cheap. The minuses is that the weather conditions might be unpredictable. It might be risky. So you might actually lose all of the things that you have and the ship as well. So it might be a little bit risky. So it depends on the good weather conditions. Are rivers and lakes good for transportation? Yes, I think rivers and lakes, if you use them properly, if you don't pollute them, it's a great way to transport goods. And I think European countries like Germany use this way of transportation a lot, and they use it very efficiently. And it's very convenient for them to use this transportation to deliver goods from one country to another, from one place to another place. Do you think that cruise trips will become more popular in the future? Well, I think that cruise ships are going to be popular because of the increase in the number of people who want to travel. Travel, first of all, because people are getting richer, and I think the number of people who can afford to travel by cruise ship will increase in the future, and I think it's going to be the demand for this service is going to increase. Now, as a place to spend some leisure time, do you think place near water is more suitable for children or for old people? Now, it's really hard to decide which is who would benefit more from seaside leisure time. I think it's great for both young and the old. The old people just can sunbathe, sit there, think about their life, while children can just run around, maybe build castle, or just paddle in the water, or they can just play some maybe like football, beach football. So they can be involved in really energetic activities. So it's very hard to decide for whom it's going to be better. But I think both age groups will benefit it from a lot. Okay, demak, mana menimcha hamma savollarga javob berib chiqdik. Juda ham ko'p savollar bor edi. Hop, bir og'it tekshirib qo'yaman. Some people like water sports. Okay, yes, I think we covered all the questions, and I hope you found my answers interesting and informative as well. And you also learned hopefully you also learned some useful related vocabulary. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next lesson. Take care.